So here is little Oliver. Anytime I ask you guys what video you want to see, or anytime I ask who's your favorite baby, I always get the same answer over and over and over again. Oliver! So guess what? Oliver is going to make a video today. Well, I guess I'm going to make the video, but he's going to be the star of the video. Because, as you can tell by the title, this is going to be, should I get a silicone baby? I've actually had a lot of questions about this topic, and I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while now. I've just been trying to think of what to throw in the video. I got it today, so yeah, let's get started. So you want a silicone baby, or you think you want a silicone baby. First of all, if you don't know, silicone dolls are generally quite a bit more expensive than reborns. Of course, it depends on the artist, if you want a full body or partial silicone, if you know, there's just a variety of factors, but generally, silicones are going to be more expensive than reborns. So that is one thing to consider, is you're going to be spending a bit of extra money on a silicone than a reborn. So, if you are okay with that, but you want to know, is it worth the extra investment? Let me tell you guys a little bit about silicone dolls. So, silicone dolls can be more realistic in certain aspects, and they can also be less realistic in certain aspects than reborns. And it's important to realize those aspects before you jump into buying one, because you don't want to buy one and then be disappointed. So first, I'm going to tell you guys how they are more realistic. So silicone is obviously very flexible and squishy, just as a real baby would be. Obviously, real babies aren't this squishy and flexible, but you know, when you pick them up, they jiggle and they're very soft. And he's full body, by the way, if you didn't know. So that is one way they're more realistic, because they are very squishy and flexible, and they're nice and soft, especially if you get a partial body. I've personally never had a partial body silicone, but from what I've seen in other people's videos, they seem to be the most cuddly out of reborns and full-bodied silicones. So they seem to be the most realistic out of reborns and silicones, because they do have that partial body. The full-bodied silicone, they're sort of stiff, as you can see. So, but they are still squishy and all that good stuff. So that is one thing. Another way they can be, again, they're not all this way, but some of them can take a full pacifier. And this is what I love, because I hate modifying pacifiers. I hate having to buy magnets. It's just a hassle to me. So the fact that he can take a full pacifier without needing any modifications is a huge plus in my opinion. So that is another way they are more realistic. And another way they are more realistic is, now this only goes for full-bodied babies. This does not go for partial-bodied babies, because the full-bodied silicone babies you can give baths. Now, you can't give them daily baths and scrub them, but you can make a video giving them a bath, or you can wipe them down with water, which a reborn you cannot do. And with a partial-bodied silicone baby, you can't get the cloth body wet, just like a reborn. So that is a big plus about having a full-bodied baby. The thing about partial-bodied silicone babies versus full-bodied silicone babies is generally full-bodied silicone babies will not be under $1,000. I have yet to see a life-size silicone full-bodied baby, sorry it's a mouthful, that was under $1,000. So they are generally very, very, very expensive. And a lot of people don't want to spend that much money on a doll, which I completely understand. That's why I only have one. So aside from the money aspect of it, because I've mentioned that a couple times, Now I'm going to mention the downsides of a silicone versus a reborn. So, silicone painting, from what I have seen, is generally not as realistic as reborn painting. I have personally never painted silicone. I've only painted vinyl reborn babies, so I can't really say too much about that because I don't have that much experience, but just from what I've seen, I'm guessing it's a little bit more difficult to paint silicone. So as you can see, if you can tell by his hand right here, it's also, hope you guys can see, but as you can see, his hand definitely, like, the painting is just not as realistic as a reborn would be. So, and that's a big thing because you're buying a realistic baby doll, and you know, if you're someone who wants the realist looking doll as possible, I would totally recommend a reborn, because silicones just don't have, I mean, they look real, but just not as real as a reborn. So that's a really big thing. Another really big downside to silicone babies is they are extremely, extremely fragile. You have to be very, very careful when handling them, especially when changing them, because when you change them, you can't just tug on their limbs and, you know, just flip-flop them around, because they can tear very easily, especially their little fingers, because they're just very delicate and silicone can tear. And there are different types of silicones. Some are stronger than others, but no matter what the type of silicone, you still have to be extremely, extremely careful when handling and changing your reborns. And I want to mention this because if you have little brothers and sisters, or if you have children, or if you just have kids in the house or around your stuff, whatever the case may be, I would not recommend letting children handle a silicone baby, because it's just how fragile they are. They can tear so easily, and they are such a big investment. It's just not worth it. If you're gonna buy one of these dolls, you want to keep them in tip-top condition. So I'm gonna mention another downside to them, because believe it or not, silicones do have quite a bit of downsides to them, which is why I wanted to make this video, because a lot of people think, oh, this is the best of the best that you can have in the reborn doll community, when that's just not true. It just depends on what you want. So the other downside is if your silicone baby doll is rooted, you are it's most likely going to have its hair fall out eventually. That is because their hair cannot be glued in like a reborn doll's. So no matter how careful you are, no matter how often you brush their hair or not, I mean, obviously if you brush it more, it's going to come out faster, but even if you try not to brush their hair very often, their hair is going to fall out. It's just how things are. So you're eventually going to end up with a bald baby, or you're going to have to get them re-rooted. Now, I've had Oliver for 2 years almost, and he still has a good bit of his hair, but as you can see from the back, he is balding pretty bad. That's just from laying down on his head. That's not even from brushing, because I don't brush the back. So, and you can tell from the sides too, he's starting to lose his hair. So, no matter how well you take care of them, because I feel like I take care of Oliver really, really well. I try not to let children, I don't let children handle them. I hardly ever give him a bath. I try to not change him that often. I try to not brush his hair that often. I just try to take really good care of him, and these things are still going to happen. So that is something else to keep in mind, because if you get a reborn, if their hair is glued in properly, it won't fall out. At least it shouldn't. So that is another downside to silicone babies. And one last thing I want to say about the downsides of owning a silicone baby doll is, this is just from what I've noticed. I've noticed that silicone babies can have their paint peel more than a reborn doll. If you varnish reborn dolls good enough, I notice that their paint generally stays pretty well. You know, it can handle being played with and changed and whatnot. But with silicones, I've noticed that their paint peels no matter what you do. So again, I don't know if this is just how they're painted or the types of paint that's used. I'm not sure. This is just something that I've noticed. Oliver, thankfully, hasn't peeled hardly at all, but let me pull out his hand here. You can kind of see how different his hands are painting wise. This still has some paint up here, but this hand doesn't really have any paint too much on it. And then again with this little toe right here, a lot of the paint has rubbed off. So, you know, like I said, I don't know if, I don't know if you guys can even see that, but yeah, see his little toe right here? So, like I said, I don't know why that is, why that happens, but it does happen. So, that is something else to keep in mind. The bottom line is, it's totally up to you, but in the end, silicone dolls are more expensive. They do have issues. In my opinion, silicone babies have more issues than reborn dolls. But, you know, it's totally up to you. It's totally what you want out of your doll, and in the end, you're the one paying for it. I hope these tips helped. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask. I will gladly answer. I've had Oliver for over 2 years now, and even though he is my only silicone doll, I feel like I've had a good amount of experience with him, so I would be more than happy to answer any of your silicone doll questions. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye!